Page 38, The Green Leaves of Summer. On page 36, they're introducing you to the key of D minor. I've already been encouraging you to do the scale on D minor because D minor has one flat. It's the relative minor to F major. F major has one flat. So I'm saying, well, when you do the scale on F major, go ahead and do the scale on D minor also. And I explain it in the scale video, but I'll cover it briefly here. As you know, all scales, no matter what they are, or all modes, whatever they are, follow a set pattern of whole steps and half steps. And it's simply a different pattern for each different mode. Or major scales have one pattern, minor scales have another, and Dorian mode has another, and Aeolian mode, or that's minor, Lydian mode has another, Phrygian is, they're all different patterns, but it is a set pattern of whole steps and half steps. Even if you get into the jazz scale or blues scale, which are different, I don't really teach them, but I have videos out on blues books, and we talk a little bit about those. It's a different pattern, so whatever, you can start on any key, but in D minor, one flat, it has the B flat, and then we use what's known as the harmonic minor. There are three different kinds of minors typically. There's the natural minor, which is exactly the same as the major, note for note, except you start on your minor key, whatever it is. Here, we'd start on a D, and we simply do a scale up and down on white keys except for the B flat, because it has one flat. Minor. Some pieces use it, some pieces use it, some pieces don't. Then we have the melodic minor, which is also used in music somewhat, and that is where, depends on which direction you're going as to what you're playing. Yeah, I know, you want to stay away from that. But the idea is the sixth and seventh step, you simply take it up a half step when you go up, and you play the natural minor when you go down. So in D minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the B flat, and the seventh is the C. I'm going to take both of those up a half step. So it would be a B natural and a C sharp. Going up and then going down, it would be the regular notes coming down. That's melodic minor. I don't cover these in my scale videos. The one that's used the most is called a harmonic minor, and that's what I do cover, and that's what they're covering on page 36. You simply raise the seventh step a half step. Too many steps in there. So it's here, instead of C, it's C sharp. That's all, just the seventh step of the scale, you just take it up a half step. Those are used most of the time in most pieces. That's what I cover. That's what I'm encouraging you to do. If you're interested in the others, that's entirely up to you. I don't cover them that much. Now, on page 37, they're talking about octaves in the right hand. Well, let's talk about octaves in both hands. So you got to do both hands. Come on now. The idea is there are certain patterns on piano playing. Your 5-finger position, the chord here, and the 4 chord is another pattern, the 5-7 chord is another pattern, and so forth. You find a lot of patterns, hand position type things, which are very common and they're used a lot. You just learn them. You don't make an effort to learn them. You just learn them over time. You do them so much, you'll get them. Octave is one of those things. An octave is where you're reaching out. An octave is an interval of an 8, right? It's letter to letter. C to C, E to E, A to A, whatever. It's an octave. It's very common in music, and here you need to develop that feel for that octave so you can find it without even looking at the keyboard. So we simply go up, just practice going up. If you've had enough wine or beer to drink, go the opposite direction. The idea is you want to just get this feel. Now there's a trap here, and most everybody falls into it. I fall into it. If you're human, you do it. And that is, you want to keep this position so bad, you'll tense up, you'll freeze. You just, I got to stay right here, I can't move, and you'll tense up, and it just, no, got to stay relaxed. You're going to keep that position, but you're going to stay relaxed. And that's where the wrists come in. Relax the wrist as you're doing this, because you can't play with a relaxed wrist and be tense at the same time. It doesn't work. We're physically not built that way. So just make an effort to collapse the wrists. No matter how tense you get in the hands, collapse the wrist. Helps to play soft too. And then let the wrist, as you're coming up each time, eventually you'll keep the arm still and you'll just do that. And you'll play it this way. And you'll stay relaxed, but you'll keep that position. And that's important, not just with octaves, but with any position you're playing. You want to stay relaxed and let the wrists collapse a little. Don't play with stiff wrists. You know, I know people do sometimes. They go all over the place. Just don't. There's exceptions to everything, I know that, but for now, just don't. Now let's get to talking about this piece. 3/4 time, we're in the key of D minor. We already talked about D minor. Right hand first, let's make sure we get the fingering and the rhythm and all that. It has a pickup beat, so we're coming in on beat 3. If you look at the bottom of the page, the very last measure, it's got 2 beats in it. That's okay. This is the 3rd beat of that measure. So we're here. That puts us in this position, more or less. We're going to move around, but that's where we'll start. And it's 3, 1, and 2, and 3. And you should know dotted rhythms by now. I'm not going to keep harping at these. If you don't know about dotted rhythms, you can't figure, you don't understand them, please go back to book 1 and go through books 1 and 2 again and pay a special attention on the rhythm. This should be pretty much automatic for you by this time, in my opinion. 3, 1, and 2, and 3. And then C sharp. Now reach up with 2nd finger and 2. You don't have to do that. You can just stay right here. You can use 3rd finger. But on the end of the line there, on that last note, use thumb. So you 2, 1. That's fine. And then 2nd line, they want you to reach up again. Well, okay. And then 2nd finger again. Now you're going to reach up and move. We need octaves. Now at the end of the 2nd line with the octaves here, you see a 1/5, and then they have a 1/4 with 5 in parentheses. That's an alternate fingering. You can use 4th finger or 5th finger, whichever. A lot of times on black key octaves we'll use 4th finger. This is something Franz Liszt pushed way back in the late 1800s. Because most of the time piano players didn't do that. You use 1/5 even on the black keys. He pushed 1/4, and it's taught a lot. And that's the way I was taught. That's the way I do it. So on the black keys, now if you have a small hand and you can't reach 1/4 on an octave, then you can't do that. You got to use 1/5. It's okay. So, but if you can, use 1/4, and you can connect that. So that fingering is fine. I'll leave that up to you, though, up between you and your teacher as to what fingering you use. And then go on. And then again, they're saying now, and they're doing it this way. This is the 3rd line, 5, and then a 4. And that's because it's a black key. You can use it. I tend to use 4th finger out of habit, though. That's what I was taught. I can't say one way is right or wrong. There's just different ways to finger it. You'll have to decide. It has to do with how big your hands are, and how much you want to connect the melody with the fingers. Anyway, the 3rd line, you're here, and then come up here. I do recommend 4th finger on the black key if your hand's big enough, though. I mean, I can do that too on the F, because you can use that fourth finger on these octaves whenever. So it's like in the last line, the first measure, 1, 4, 5, I can connect. It makes it a little more difficult fingering though, and your hand's got to be big enough to handle it. There's nothing wrong with 1, 5 on all of those in the last line. Just make sure you hit the right notes, because it gets a little tricky. Now what I do, anytime I've got multiple notes moving around like this, if the pattern's the same for the hand, I aim one finger and let the other finger go along. It's like the last line. I mean, you can apply that on all these octaves, but the last line when you're moving around, just whichever, it doesn't matter which finger you use. I can aim the little finger, or I can aim the thumb. The point is, if I have my hand in that position, I don't have to worry about the other finger. I just aim one finger and let the other go along. It takes some practice to get that, but I encourage you to try that out and work on it. Usually I'll aim whatever the melody is, and out here, in a lot of octaves, the melody is actually the top note. That's what we want to hear. So you might play the top note a little louder than the other one if you can, otherwise don't worry about it. And then the last two measures there, here, fourth finger on the C sharp, and then here. And you can connect this here. Left hand. Well, left hand has some interesting things going on. See at the beginning there, they have in parentheses no pedal. We're finger pedaling this. Finger pedaling is when you're holding the notes down longer than normal, so the note sounds longer than normal. It's what the pedal would do. If you had the pedal down, it would hold the note out. Well, here, the chord is that broken chord. That's what it is. But we're going to finger pedal them. They've got them tied. You're going to hold it down. So we have them all. Just lift up and move. You can lift up and... You can do a 2, 3 on that. And this is the second line, the last two measures, A, C, and then hold the D down. I like their fingering here. I use 3 there. And then on the last line down, I use 3 again. So finger pedal this. I know you're using pedal through part of this, I don't care, you still do it with the fingers. Put the hands together. You have that. This whole thing is sort of legato as far as articulation goes. Just try and connect it. Then lift up like taking a breath. Lift up. Now hold the left hand down though. Lift up. Both hands here. Come up. Play this as legato as you can. Just lift up between the phrases. And then dynamics, well, it's a gentle piece. Whatever you think soft is, everything else has to be in the background. Very soft. Then at the second line, you see a crescendo there at the beginning. Gradually get louder. You're going to get loud. You're going to be loud when you get to the octaves, but not before. Take your time. So this is soft, moderately soft, moderately loud. Now I'm loud. In the right hand. The left hand can be sort of moderately soft to moderately loud. Keep it in the background. Now at the bottom, in the first ending, you're loud here. Now all of a sudden, that A, that's soft. You go back to the top, just like you were. So loud, soft. And second ending, you're loud there. Try and do the dynamic. You need to get to know it well enough you can feel these dynamics, because you're not going to stay at exactly the same level. You get a little louder and softer as you feel it. It's called interpreting the music. Speed says quite slow. Well, I do everything slow, so it doesn't matter to me. It says it's up to you. If you have a tendency to speed it up as you're playing it, then think eighth notes. If you'll count the eighth notes, it'll help to keep you down. Instead of going 1, 2, 3, think 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. You need to get to the point where you're not really counting it, you're feeling it. The point is, if you'll just keep the eighth note constant, it helps to slow you down. You don't want to get slower, but it helps to keep it from getting faster, you know. Now they've added pedal. Well, we kind of need pedal when we're doing this, because this is, you can't really connect them easily enough. I mean, there might be an advanced way of doing it. I don't want to get into that. So we use pedal to help us out, but we don't want it to get mushy. So if I pedal it the way they're showing, this is what you get. It's here. I'm going to push the notes down first and then the pedal. This is the last two measures of the second line. I'm going to change the pedal after I play the notes. And then I want a little silence before you go back to the top. And don't pedal this top. That's why they have no pedal in parentheses. Don't pedal that part. That actually in this piece works out rather well. Because we need to connect these eighth notes and the octaves, and it works out okay. So believe it or not, I'm going to go with the pedaling they're showing. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I'm saying that. Okay. I always change the pedaling. There is no ritornado at the end of this. You don't slow down, you just keep going. If you want to hold that last note a little longer than 2 beats, though, I think that would be fine. It's an interpretive thing. It says 2 beats and that's it, but you can stick a little fermata on that for effect. Okay.